My name is David Carter. I'm 39 years old, an IT specialist for a logistics company that ships medical supplies across the Midwest. Not the kind of job that makes for exciting dinner conversation, but it pays well enough. And I'm good at what I do. I fix problems. I notice patterns. I make systems run smoothly when everyone else has given up trying to figure out what's wrong. I used to think those skills made me a good husband, too. Sarah and I met 12 years ago at my college roommate's birthday party. She walked in wearing this ridiculous vintage band t-shirt, the Smiths, I think, and jeans that looked painted on. Her laugh hit me first, loud and unashamed, cutting through the music and chatter like she didn't care who heard. When Jake introduced us, she looked me up and down and said with a teasing smile, "So you're the computer guy who actually knows how to dress himself." I was wearing a button-down and dark jeans. Nothing special. But the way she smiled when she said it made me feel like I'd won something. We were married within 2 years. The early days blurred together now. A montage of good memories I can't quite trust anymore. Weekend drives to nowhere in particular. Her feet on my dashboard, singing off-key to whatever came on the radio. Late nights in our first apartment, pizza boxes and wine bottles scattered around us as we planned our future. The house we'd buy, the vacations we'd take, maybe kids someday when her marketing career took off and my salary caught up to our dreams. I took pride in being the perfect husband. I remembered our anniversary, not just the wedding, but our first date, first kiss, the day we moved in together. I handled our finances so she wouldn't have to stress about bills. When she mentioned wanting something in passing, a book, a scarf she saw in a store window, I'd file it away and surprise her weeks later. Small gestures, but they mattered. At least I thought they did. Our routine became comfortable. Morning coffee at 6:45, her in her robe scrolling through emails while I made eggs. The quick kiss goodbye at 7:30, tasting like her vanilla lip gloss. Dinner at 7, where she'd tell me about her impossible clients and backstabbing co-workers, while I nodded and offered solutions she never wanted, just someone to listen. I was good at that, too. The changes started small. Her phone began living face down on the dinner table. When it buzzed, she'd glance at it and flip it back over in one smooth motion, barely breaking conversation. "Just work," she'd say dismissively, even when I hadn't asked. The quick work calls that pulled her to our bedroom started lasting longer. 15 minutes became 30, then 45. I could hear her voice through the door, low and professional, but sometimes punctuated by that laugh, the one that had stopped being for me months ago. "How was your day?" I'd ask when she returned. "Fine. Busy. You know," she'd reply with a shrug. But I didn't know. The woman who used to dissect every meeting, every email, every office drama now offered me scraps. Surface-level pleasantries delivered with the same enthusiasm she showed the grocery store cashier. I told myself it was normal. 12 years together, 10 married. Of course, things evolved. We weren't kids anymore, drunk on hormones and possibility. This was adult love, steady and sustainable. The butterflies die so something stronger can grow. Every marriage counseling book said so. My IT brain noticed the patterns even as my heart made excuses. The new gym membership she suddenly used religiously. The work conferences that hadn't existed in previous years. The way she'd shower immediately when she came home late, even though she'd already showered at the gym. 2 weeks ago, I woke at 2 a.m. with a dry throat. Sarah wasn't in bed, but that wasn't unusual. She'd been suffering from insomnia, she said. Work stress. I padded to the kitchen for water and found her phone charging on the counter, screen up, notification banner still. Glowing. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, beautiful. I should have gone back to bed. I should have trusted my wife." Instead, I picked up that phone, and everything I believed about my life crumbled in less than 60 seconds. The message preview hung there like a blade. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, beautiful M." My hands trembled as I picked up Sarah's phone. The screen was still unlocked. She must have just set it down. The full message appeared. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, beautiful. Same hotel as last week? I'm already getting hard thinking about what I'm going to do to you. M. Matthew." Matthew Sullivan, her boss. The man who'd promoted her twice in 3 years. The man whose wife Helen had hosted us for dinner just last month, where we'd laughed about reaching that boring phase of marriage where excitement meant trying a new restaurant. I screenshot the message, then carefully placed the phone exactly as I'd found it. Slightly angled charging cable draped just so. My IT training kicked in. Document everything, disturb nothing. I went back to bed and lay beside my wife, staring at the ceiling while she slept peacefully, one leg thrown over mine like nothing had changed. The next morning played out like a fever dream. Sarah hummed in the shower. She kissed me goodbye. Really. Kissed me, hand on my cheek, looking into my eyes. "Love you, babe. Don't work too hard," she said warmly, her smile genuine and perfect. I searched her face for tells, for guilt, for anything that matched what I'd seen. Nothing. She'd become a stranger wearing my wife's skin, and she wore it flawlessly. The moment her car left the driveway, I became someone else too. Someone methodical, cold, systematic. I called in sick to work. Food poisoning, I told them, probably be out a couple days. Then I opened my laptop and began my investigation. Our shared cloud storage gave me everything. Sarah had gotten lazy, or maybe she just believed I was too trusting to look. The Work Projects folder contained subfolders with innocuous names, Q3 presentations, marketing analytics, conference notes, but the file sizes were wrong. Presentations don't need 500 MB. Analytics spreadsheets aren't 2 GB. They were photos, videos, hundreds of them. Sarah in lingerie I'd never seen. Sarah in hotel rooms I'd never been to. Sarah on her knees in what looked like Matthew's office, the city skyline visible through the window behind her. The timestamp, 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, when she'd texted me about being stuck in a budget meeting. I threw up twice, then went back to work. The text messages were worse than the photos. I used her laptop's backup system to recover a year's worth of conversations. They'd been careful at first, professional exchanges with subtle undertones. But by month 3, they'd abandoned pretense. Matthew had texted, "God, you taste incredible. I can still smell you on my fingers." Sarah had replied, "Had to lie to David about the bruises on my thighs. Told him I started doing CrossFit lol Matthew." Responded, "Poor bastard. Does he still think you're working late on Thursdays?" Sarah answered, "He's too boring to be suspicious. Probably relieved he doesn't have to pretend to be interested in intimacy anymore." That one sat me back in my chair. We'd had intimacy 2 nights ago. I'd initiated, and she'd seemed enthusiastic. Another performance, apparently. Another lie I'd swallowed without question. The worst thread came from 3 months ago. Sarah and Matthew discussing their future, their exit strategies. Sarah had written, "David's made leaving easy. We don't have kids, the house is in both our names, but I've been documenting his emotional neglect. My lawyer says I could get alimony too, especially with the pay difference." Matthew replied, "Helen's trickier, prenup. But once you're free, we can stop hiding." Sarah responded, "God, I can't wait. Playing happy wife is exhausting. But David's been smart with money. Between the house sale and his 401k, I'll be set." They'd mapped out my financial destruction while I was downstairs making her dinner. I documented everything. Screenshots organized in folders by date. Hotel receipts from her credit card matching. Her client dinners. GPS data from her fitness app showing her at the Marriott downtown during her gym sessions. Even audio files. She'd been sending Matthew voice messages through an encrypted app, but the backups captured them before deletion. Her voice, breathy and cruel, just left the house. David made breakfast and kept trying to talk about vacation plans. So pathetic. He has no idea his perfect little wife is about to get intimate with her boss behind closed doors. Sometimes I almost feel bad for him. Then I remember how goddamn boring he is and the guilt goes away. She laughed. That same laugh that had made me fall in love with her. I saved everything to multiple drives, cloud servers, even mailed a USB to my brother with instructions not to open it unless I asked. By evening, I had a year's worth of evidence. Enough to destroy 2 marriages, 2 careers, 2 lives. Sarah came home at 6:47, 15 minutes late, but within the acceptable window. She kissed my cheek, mentioned traffic, asked about my day. I told her about a server issue at work, completely fictional but technical enough that she'd tune out. She nodded at the right moments while texting someone. Probably Matthew, hidden just below the table's edge. "Oh," she said suddenly, looking up with bright eyes. "I have something exciting to discuss. It's about our anniversary. 10 years, baby. I want to make it really special." Sarah wanted to make our anniversary special. After what I'd discovered, I realized I wanted the exact same thing, just not in the way she imagined. Sarah arrived home the next evening with an armload of wedding magazines and venue brochures, her face glowing with an excitement I hadn't seen in months. She spread them across our dining table like she was planning a military campaign, which, in a way, I suppose she was. "I want to do something big," she announced, flipping through pages of decorated ballrooms and garden parties. Not like a second wedding, but significant. Our friends, family, everyone important to us, show them we're stronger than ever. The irony was so thick I nearly choked on it. I watched her performance with new eyes, recognizing the calculated enthusiasm. This wasn't about our marriage. This was about image, about crafting a narrative for the divorce she'd been planning. "Look how devoted I was," she'd say later. "I planned this whole celebration right before he became abusive and controlling." "I love it," I replied, matching her energy. "Who were you thinking of inviting?" She pulled out her phone, scrolling through. Contacts. "Obviously our families, the Millers, the Johnsons. Oh, and people from work. You know how supportive they've been of my career." She paused, not meeting my eyes. "I'd really like Matthew and Helen to come. Matthew has been such an incredible mentor. It would mean a lot to have him there." My stomach twisted, but I smiled. "Of course. Helen's lovely. Remember that dinner at their place?" "Exactly," Sarah beamed, mistaking my compliance for obliviousness. "See? This is why I love you. You're so understanding about my work relationships." Over the next 3 weeks, I became the perfect anniversary party planner. I volunteered to handle all the technical aspects, the venue, catering, invitations, and especially the multimedia presentation. Sarah was delighted to delegate, freeing her up for what really mattered, spending more time with Matthew. I booked the Riverside Event Center, a gorgeous space with floor-to-ceiling windows and state-of-the-art projection equipment. The event coordinator, a sweet woman named Janet, walked me through their system. Multiple input sources, wireless presentation controls, full surround sound with independent zone control, perfect for what I had in mind. "Planning something special?" Janet asked, noting my detailed questions about the technical specifications. "You could say that. I want this to be an anniversary no one will ever forget," I answered with a smile. The invitation list grew to 52 people. I designed elegant cards with our wedding photo, young, hopeful, honest versions of ourselves. The RSVP website I created allowed me to track responses in real time. Matthew and Helen Sullivan confirmed within hours. Sarah mentioned this over dinner, trying to sound casual. "Matthew seemed really touched by the invitation," she said, cutting into her chicken. "He said it means a lot that we consider them such close friends." "Well, he's been so good to you," I replied, refilling her wine glass. "The promotion, the mentorship. We owe him a lot." She smiled, probably thinking about everything else she'd given him. "You're the best husband, you know that?" she said affectionately. The preparation consumed my evenings, but it gave me purpose. While Sarah claimed to be at yoga or book club or working late, I refined my presentation. 2 versions existed. The one she expected, a romantic journey through our decade together, and the real one, documenting her year-long betrayal in excruciating detail. The challenge wasn't technical, it was maintaining the facade. Sarah noticed my newfound attention, my enthusiasm for our anniversary. She became more affectionate, probably feeling guilty. She'd curl against me on the couch, play with my hair, tell me about her day. Fabricated versions. But she was trying. Once, she even initiated intimacy, whispering how much she loved me as she moved above me. I wondered if she closed her eyes and pictured Matthew. The hardest moment came when she showed me the dress she'd bought for the party. Emerald green, elegant but with a neckline that would definitely draw attention. She modeled it for me, spinning in our bedroom, asking if I thought it was appropriate. "You look beautiful," I said truthfully. "Everyone will be staring." "I only care about one person's opinion," she lied, kissing me softly. 3 days before the anniversary, Sarah came home practically vibrating with excitement. She'd been promoted again, Senior Director of Marketing Strategy, reporting directly to Matthew. The position came with a 30% raise and a corner office. "Matthew says I've earned it," she gushed, popping champagne she'd bought on the way home. "He's been grooming me for this for months." I bet he had. We toasted in our kitchen, glasses clinking. "To new beginnings," she said, eyes bright with plans I'd never be part of. "To new beginnings," I agreed, smiling as I raised my glass. She had no idea how right she was. Everything was about to change. The Riverside Event Center looked perfect. Warm Edison bulbs strung across the ceiling cast a golden glow over round tables dressed in white linen. Roses and baby's breath centerpieces. The projection screen dominated the east wall, currently displaying our wedding photo. Sarah radiant in white, me young and earnest in my rented tux, both of us believing in forever. Sarah worked the room like the marketing professional she was. The emerald dress moved perfectly with her body as she hugged my mother, complimented her sister's new haircut, laughed at my father's terrible jokes. She introduced me to her colleagues as her rock, her better half, the love of her life. Her hand rested on my lower back, proprietary and warm as we greeted guests. Matthew and Helen arrived fashionably late. Helen wore black, appropriate, considering what was coming. Matthew shook my hand firmly, looking me in the eye like a man, with nothing to hide. "David, this is spectacular," he said, gesturing at the venue. "Sarah's a lucky woman." "We're both lucky," I replied, noting how his gaze tracked Sarah across the room. During dinner, I sat at the head table watching 52 people celebrate a marriage that had been dead for a year. Sarah's father gave a toast about commitment. My best man, Jake, told the story of how I'd called him after our first date, declaring I'd met the woman I'd marry. Even Matthew stood, raising his glass to a couple that exemplifies partnership and mutual support. Sarah squeezed my hand under the table during his speech, probably amused by the irony. When the plates were cleared, I stood and tapped my glass. The room quieted. "Thank you all for being here," I began, my voice steady despite my racing heart. 10 years ago, I married Sarah believing I knew everything about love. She taught me I knew nothing. She taught me that love means truly knowing someone, their dreams, their fears, their secrets. Sarah dabbed at her eyes with her napkin. Several guests made soft awe sounds. "Marriage is about sharing everything," I continued, picking up the presentation remote I'd hidden behind my water glass. "Tonight, I want to share our complete story with all of you, the real story." The first slides were exactly what everyone expected. Our wedding ceremony, our honeymoon in Costa Rica, Christmas mornings, and birthday dinners. Sarah leaned against my shoulder, radiating satisfaction. This was the narrative she wanted. Devoted husband, perfect marriage, relationship goals. The Maya transition was subtle. Between vacation photos, a screenshot appeared. The text was too small to read from the tables, but guests noticed the shift in format. Confused murmurs rippled through the room. "Communication has always been important in our marriage," I narrated calmly. The next slide filled the screen, the text now massive and unmistakable. Matthew: "Can't wait to feel you wrapped around me. Again." Sarah: "God, me too. David's working late Thursday. Come over?" The room went silent. Sarah's body turned to stone against mine. "David, what?" She started, but I clicked to the next slide. Hotel receipts, credit card statements, GPS data, showing her at the Marriott during her gym sessions. "For the past year," I announced, my voice carrying clearly through the speaker system, "my wife has been having an affair with Matthew Sullivan." Helen stood so fast, her chair crashed backward. Matthew tried to grab her arm, but she was already moving, crossing the 10 feet between their table and ours with murderous intent. "You bastard!" she screamed at Matthew, her palm connecting with his face hard enough that the slap echoed off the walls. "In our bed? In our goddamn bed?" I clicked. Forward. More messages appeared. Sarah. Had to lie to David about the bruises. "He's too trusting." Matthew. "Poor bastard doesn't deserve you." Sarah. "He's too boring to deserve anything." My mother gasped. Sarah's father stood up, his face purple with rage, though I couldn't tell if it was directed at me or his daughter. Phones emerged from pockets and purses, everyone recording the apocalypse of my marriage. "Please," Sarah sobbed, mascara streaming down her cheeks. "Please stop." But I wasn't done. I clicked to the audio file. Sarah's voice filled the room, breathless and cruel. "David's so pathetic. He actually thinks I'm working late. He made me dinner last night and wanted to talk about vacation plans while I still had Matthew's inside me. Sometimes I almost feel bad for him. Then I remember what a boring prick he is, and the guilt goes away." Her laugh, that beautiful, terrible laugh, echoed through the speakers. Helen had moved on to attacking Sarah, having to be physically restrained by 2 of Matthew's colleagues. Sarah collapsed in her chair, sobbing hysterically, her perfect dress now stained with tears and runny makeup. The image on the screen behind her showed a photo she'd sent Matthew. Lingerie I'd never seen, in a hotel room I'd paid for with my boring salary. I set down the remote and looked at the crowd, our families, our friends, our colleagues, all frozen in various states of shock and second-hand embarrassment. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate our marriage," I said calmly. "As you can see, we have a lot to discuss privately. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. The bar is open until midnight." The exodus was immediate. People fled like the building was on fire, avoiding eye contact, murmuring sympathies I couldn't process. Sarah's parents stayed, her mother trying to console her while her father stared at me with something between sympathy and admiration. Within 10 minutes, only Sarah and I remained in the elegant space. She looked up at me with swollen eyes, makeup destroyed, the careful facade she'd maintained for a year finally shattered. "How could you?" she whispered. "How could I?" I laughed, short and bitter. "That's really what you want to ask me right now?" She stood on shaking legs, the designer heels she'd bought specifically for tonight clicking against the floor. "I'm going to destroy you for this. My lawyer," she threatened. "Your lawyer will get copies of everything I showed tonight, plus about 300 more pieces of evidence I held back. So will HR at your company, and Matthew's company, and every major employer in the city," I interrupted. Her face went white. "David, please. We can work this out. I made a mistake," she pleaded. "No," I interrupted. "You made choices. Every day for a year, you chose to lie to me. You chose to be intimate with another man. You chose to plan my financial destruction while I was making you breakfast. And tonight, I chose to end it on my terms." The slideshow had ended, but my real work was just beginning. Sarah thought the public humiliation was her punishment. She had no idea what I'd prepared for Monday morning. 6 months later, I sit in my new apartment watching rain streak down windows that overlook the river. It's smaller than our house, 1 bedroom, galley kitchen, but the view makes up for the square footage. More importantly, it's mine. Only mine. The divorce finalized in record time. Sarah's lawyer tried to fight, but it's hard to claim emotional. Neglect when there's audio of you laughing about your husband's ignorance while planning to take his money. She got her clothes, her car, and nothing else. The house sold fast in this market. After splitting the equity and paying lawyers, I had enough for this place and a fresh start. Monday morning after the anniversary party, I sent comprehensive evidence packages to both their company's HR departments. Fraternization policies exist for a reason. Sarah and Matthew were both terminated by Wednesday. Word travels fast in marketing circles. Neither has found work since. Last I heard, Matthew moved back in with his elderly parents in Delaware. He's 45. Helen Sullivan sent me a thank you card last month. Strange thing to receive from someone whose marriage you helped destroy. But she said the truth was worth the pain. She got the house in her divorce, most of their savings too. Matthew's prenup had an infidelity clause he'd forgotten about in his arrogance. Sarah came by the house the night after the party with her parents. She cried, begged, promised counseling, promised anything. Her father stood behind her looking uncomfortable, clearly there under protest. Her mother couldn't make eye contact with me. I handed Sarah the divorce papers I'd already had drawn up and closed the door. That was the last time we spoke. The hardest part isn't what people think. Some friends called my revenge excessive, cruel, unnecessarily public. Others, particularly the men who'd been cheated on themselves, bought me drinks and called me a hero. But their opinions don't keep me up at night. What's hard is the muscle memory. Reaching for my phone to text Sarah about something funny I saw. Rolling over in bed and finding empty space. Cooking for one after a decade of making 2 portions. These moments ambush me, in the grocery store, during my commute, in the shower where I can't distract myself from remembering. But they're getting rarer. I've started dating again. Nothing serious yet. A coffee here, dinner there. Women who know my story. It's impossible not to in this city after the party went viral on social media. Some are intrigued, others horrified. I'm honest about what I did and why. If they can't handle that truth, we wouldn't work anyway. My therapist says I'm processing well, that the anger was necessary but can't become permanent. I'm working on that. Some days are better than others. The rage still visits, usually at 2 a.m. when I remember finding that first text, but it doesn't own me anymore. People ask if I regret it. If I could go back, would I handle things differently? Maybe I should have just divorced her quietly, maintained dignity, taken the high road. But every time I consider that alternative, I remember her laugh on that audio file, the casual cruelty as she mocked the man who loved her completely. No, I destroyed my wife's life in front of 50 people, and given the choice again, I'd do it every time. Some betrayals deserve an audience. The rain's getting heavier now, turning the river choppy and gray. I pour another coffee and open my laptop. There's code to write, problems to solve, systems to debug. Simple, logical work where trust isn't required and betrayal isn't possible. It's not the life I planned, but it's honest. And after everything, that's enough. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.